So yeah, he's
Yeah,
saying happy
because
Nowruz to my Kurdish and
Nowruz.
Persian friends. Nowruz, what is this? It's some sort of I've seen it, but I
You
don't know.
don't know? Nowruz is the New Year. Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
Nowruz. Okay, all right.
It's the
No,
New
hang on.
Year in Iran. Yeah.
Oh, so like is it like the ancient calendar or something?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
the New Year in Iran. And I think a couple of other places, like some parts of Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and the
what was it
all of
built
the
on? Like,
Kurd.
what was it based on? Like a lunar? Is that a
It's
lunar?
it's rooted in Zoroastrianism and Mithraism, but it predates that but they took some other ancient religions that came from it, but eventually it became Zoroastrian and Mithraism. Now it's more secular, and but it came from those religions and those
I wanted to
ancient
ask you a
practices.
question because a lot of people, a lot of Indians say that, oh, we're the only surviving culture, and a lot of Indians say that, oh, Iranians should go back to the Persian roots and blah blah blah, like that kind of crap. Egyptians should go back, useless stuff. But I actually, this question intrigued me enough to look into it, and I found some surprising tolerance by the Islamic regime of Iran towards all things Persians. For example, the Gulf of Persia. They said, no, don't change this to Gulf of Arabia. We want to keep it to Gulf of Persia. How do they feel about Nowruz? Or like, I mean, is it like, obviously my knowledge is very surface level, but is the Islamic Republic of Iran, as Islamic as it is, not overly or a little bit more sympathetic towards Persian history than they should be, because it should be all Islam?
Okay, so I could speak about this for 2 hours straight, okay, nonstop,
Just
right?
5 minutes. Just and look towards the camera.
So in Iran, there's a constant battle between the Persian culture and the Islamic culture, right? There's two main forces, right? And there are groups of people who think there's no contradiction between these things and you could enjoy both. But the regime itself, from the beginning, tried to replace the Persian culture with Islamic ones, and they failed because of the heavy dose of nationalism that exists in Iran. Khomeini himself hated nationalism, and he always wanted to eliminate it, but he couldn't. It was such a powerful force that he couldn't even imagine to, like, even from the beginning, like when he was coming back to Iran, they asked him, how do you feel coming back to Iran after being an exile? And he said nothing. And he had speeches talking against nationalism and saying that nationalism makes us not lose our allies in other Islamic countries. Like, we need to be all united based on under the cover of Islam rather than Iran. He hated people who loved Iran, and he didn't see anything, which is amazing because he was the leader of Iran and he hated people who loved Iran. But
he wanted to build it. He wanted to build it on Islam, though. That's understandable.
Yeah.
That's more rational. That's what I would have thought.
Yeah. But the thing is that the Iran-Iraq war completely destroyed that, because Islam was not enough of a unifier or motivation for people to go fight Saddam. People needed to be motivated to defend Iran, and so because of the Iran-Iraq war,
wasn't Sunni Shia divide enough to motivate people to fight against the Sunnis who want to take over?
Not at all. People would not volunteer for that. People would volunteer to go defend Iran. Yeah, not
so nationalism. So basically, up to now, what I understand you're saying, that nationalism was the stronger factor. Even Khomeini could not kill it, even though he hated it.
Yeah, so they had to make a brand of nationalism that was in line with the Velayat Faqih version of Shia Islam. So they tried to make Iran a great country with the Shia ideology that they went and dug hadiths to try to make Iran the country where the Mahdi has chosen to come back, right? So they realized that they can't get rid of nationalism, so they wanted to create a version of nationalism that was in line with Shia Shia Islam, right, with their version of Shia Islam, and they have so many different hadiths and sayings that try to support that claim, right? How
Okay, so what happened then?
Khorasan and
So he hated
so
it. So where are we now?
So where we are now is that we have a lot of mullahs in Iran that constantly try to say that our holidays need to be as the Islamic ones, not these Zoroastrian ones, right? And this is kufr. This is going back to pagan Zoroastrian religions, and this is an insult. How is this legal? But the government itself has the official knows this is something that they cannot go back on. Like even they were early in the revolution. There was a threat that they might destroy Persepolis, which is like the Achaemenid castle that there, right? But the Islamic Republic tried to. Khamenei had spoken against the kings, the ancient kings of Iran, a couple of times, but at the same time, he was like, "Oh, we need to. This is part of our history, and we should admire it, but also remember that these kings were evil and they were not good people that we should." So he tries to have it both ways, right? So if you look at the regime, keeps on when they have the New Year, so they recognize the New Year, the Zoroastrian New Year, and they say Happy New Year to everybody on that day. The calendar is based on that New Year. Everything is based on that. And every New Year, you have some more extreme mullahs compared to the government come out and be like, what the hell is this? Why are we doing this? Why is our holidays? We need to make the Islamic holidays more important than these pagan ones. But you can see when Khamenei comes and gives out his speech on New Year, he doesn't have the symbolisms of the New Year. So I don't know if you want me to show you, for example. So some years they put like this one thing from the Hafsin. Do you know what Hafsin is?
No.
Here. So if you look at, okay, so yeah, I can't find it right now. But Hafsin is the way you celebrate the New Year. Like everybody in their home has this demonstrated here. Let me show you. Hold on. You can see people celebrate the New Year, right? With a Hafsin. So there's seven things with that starts with the sound se, and
That's
each
beautiful.
one of them represents something. People like my dad sent his picture of what he has, right? So this year, for example, you can see less. There's supposed to be a book always there, right? But look at, for example, this picture, right? Usually it's a Quran to make Islamize it a little bit, but some people don't like to put it in Quran, and they put a Hafiz, which is a Persian poet, or Ferdowsi for the ultra nationalist ones, right? For the very nationalist ones, like the book of Shahnameh, right, which is another Persian poet. And this year, interestingly, more people have switched their book away from Quran to a Persian poet.
Well, obviously, we saw that poll result where the support for the current Islamic regime had dropped down to something like 19%. Remember?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, so even religious people seem to think that the Quran represents the government and stuff. So okay, so here's the thing. You could see here sometimes the president puts some of the symbols of like the goldfish, right? Some of the symbols of the New Year, but not all of them. But Khamenei, when he speaks, he puts none of the symbols there, right? The president, this new president puts none of the symbols. Khamenei always puts none of the symbols.
Still doing it.
But you can see, but still come out and give a speech, a New Year speech on the same day, right? But you can see people always say like, look, Biden, the U.S. president comes on Iranian New Year, puts all the symbols, and they come and say. So Biden comes out and gives a speech on Iranian New Year and wish Iranians a Happy New Year. But they like, the Iranians are always like, look, our presidents and our leader don't put the Iranian symbols there, but the U.S. president comes out and celebrates
course.
all the Persian symbols.
Now it gives them more of a reason not to do it because the Americans have done it. Now okay,
No, but
okay,
look at this is in the White House. This is the half scene on New Year in the White House. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's perfect,
beautiful.
right? Like,
Okay,
have all these
okay,
things.
okay. Let's take it to the next direction. So what I've learned so far is obviously this is a Happy New Year, kind of like a Chinese New Year that predates Islam. Iran and the Islamic Republic of Iran, and even they have can't accept it because there is a desire amongst the people of Iran to hold on to certain cultural practices such as Happy New Year, Nowruz. And this is something that brings the Kurds and the Iranian people together as well. That's another element of that too.
Well, I mean, the Kurds are Iranian, so I don't.
Yeah, but
it's very important not to separate. Yeah,
I
Yeah.
don't. But I'm just talking about what the political tension there is. Of course,
Right.
for me, Baloch, half the Iranians are Baloch. Well, they're Baloch Iranians too, and Pakistani Baloch. I'm just saying that some of the political differences that they may have could be overcome, and then these are the things that actually unite certain people. I'm just thinking about the Pakistani. I'm just going to bring my Pakistani into it. And like Egyptians might have similar problems, and the Turks might have similar problems. Pakistan is more Indian than obviously is Persian or Afghan. Majority of Pakistan is more Indian. Let's just say Punjab. 60% Punjab and Sindh. These are things. Punjab and Sindh make up about 80% of Pakistan, and that's mostly Indians. Okay, but they would die before they would turn the world upside down before they adopt anything that is found rooted in the ancient Indian culture. Had they not created a separate country, let's just say this whole of India had become an Islamic Republic of India. Let's just say that. Again, not trying to scare any Hindus over there, but I'm just saying, let's just say that. I think then these people would have had more respect towards their ancient culture than current Pakistanis do, because I know current Pakistanis don't look at it from any angle. Like, I mean, and I get accused of that too, but maybe there might be something in it, but I don't crap on the good things that we can see. Like, I can appreciate academically. But anyway, my point is, so Iranians, despite the fact that they have this very hardcore Islamic regime, they still respect, or they have no choice to go for some traditional.
But they see it as a battle against the regime. They see the regime as a foreign force that's trying to Islamize the country, and they see them holding on to their ancient nationalist symbols as a resistance, as a way as a counter.
I'm too much of a modernist to have never given any respect to these ancient cultures. Or I mean, I say that you want to get rid of Islamic Republic of Iran, you want to get rid of, if there was Islamic Republic of Egypt, you don't need to go back to the pharaohs or to Cyrus the Great. You can just do it on the basis of our modern civilization, democracy, human rights, blah blah blah. But how do you see that though? Because obviously this seems like people obviously feel, the further away it is in the past, people have this kind of motivating force that propels them to achieve some amazing things. Like, I mean, I just can't see it. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's important then?
I mean, it is what it is, and I think it's so deep rooted that you have to deal with it as a reality rather than, like, I have my personal taste, and I think people need tradition, okay, and people need rituals and tradition. It is part of the human psyche, and some of us don't understand that because we're just black sheep. But just because we don't relate to it, we can't deny it as part of a human desire and need. As such an important reality that people need it. And people see value in tradition, people see value in history, people see value in rituals, and there's a lot of scientific evidence that shows that rituals actually are a human need.
I'm okay
Yeah,
with
yeah,
rituals though.
yeah.
I'm okay with rituals though, but I just don't understand the desire to seek validation for it. Like, I mean, Iran is not going to stop becoming Iran if let's just say there was no references to people were not celebrating Nowruz, people were not celebrating any other pre-Islamic Iranian traditions. Iran is not going to stop becoming Iran.
Right, but
Yeah,
but
but why do people seek validation? I see that obviously in India, which I'm more familiar with. I see that in India, people just like say, we did this, we did this, we did that 3,000, 5,000 years ago. I'm like, okay, yeah, then what? What's the point? But I
well,
see the desire to say that, hey, look, we did it, look. Most of that is
well,
bullshit anyway, but
because my mind and your mind is very individualistic, right? But people, so when we are looking, when me and you define our identity, we look at our own history, our own personal history, and our own personal failures and achievements, right? But other people's minds, most people's minds, works as a collective, right? And when they define themselves, they define themselves as part of something greater than themselves, as part of a collective, as part of a group. And to see the identity of that group, what they look into is the history of the group and the symbols of the group and the achievements of the group and the failures of the group. So that's how they are trying to, that's the mirror they look into when they want to see themselves, right? And by the way, when it comes to this identity, look at the way I just want to show you, right? So look at the difference, right? So in Iran, we have two competing identities, right? The Persian identity and the Islamic identity, right? And by the way, it's very important for us to phrase it as the Islamic identity, because not the Arab identity, because I think it helps people. This becomes people versus a religion rather than people versus other people, right? A lot of people are talking about the Arabization of Iran, and that would cause a lot of racism. So I think if we're describing this thing, Islamization would be a better way to describe it rather than Arabization, because I don't want to promote any form of racism, right? But you can see if as the Persian identity, people look at Nowruz as the main. There's a couple other Persian festivals and days that people enjoy, right? There's a lot, but Nowruz is the main one. Nowruz is the main Persian day, right? And Kurdish, sorry, not just Persian, Kurdish as well, right? And you can see it's colorful. It celebrates life. It's happy. It's festive and all of that, right? And then if you go to the main, what is the main Shia festival day? It's Ashura, right?
Ashura,
so
yes.
if you switch, you can see black, you can see blood, you can see. So if you look at Ashura on Google Images, you see a lot of misery, you see a lot of crying, right? So
don't show too much of it.
Okay, don't share. I'm gonna go back to Nowruz, which is safer to share, right? So people see, like, look at basically this Iranian people describe this as the battle between happiness and sadness, between light, literally light and color, versus darkness and black, versus
blood is red too. Blood is colorful too.
Yeah, I mean that's where you get color. When you get color in shiz, and when you draw blood, that's the only way you could get
that's
the
terrible.
color, right?
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, but you can see the difference. It's the difference between happiness and misery. Like the images just speak for themselves, right?
But surely that's a terrible generalization. Yeah, I'm sure in ancient Persia there would have been terrible. There would have been lots of blood and suffering and misery too.
Yeah, of course, but at least what you're celebrating is a celebration of nature, happiness, light, people coming together. But like the Shia tradition, the Islamic Shia traditions are celebrations of killing, of sadness, of misery, of black, of things that people don't like, right? Yeah. And also Soha is bringing up something interesting.
Very good point. I was going to say that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so Nowruz, Ramadan, and Atheist Day all happening around the same time.
Not at the same time. I think the same day as well, because I think tomorrow's Ramadan for Shias. Tomorrow's Atheist Day. I don't know about
Yeah.
Nowruz. Is it Nowruz tomorrow as well?
Nowruz was 21st, so almost
Okay. So
started.
Nowruz.
But it's 13 days, so it's basically the Nowruz celebration is matching with Ramadan. And people see this year in Iran, this has turned into a battle more than before, right? Because Ramadan is an Islamic
Clashing.
tradition, and Nowruz is the Persian one. So now more than ever, people are going to watch and see which one is going to be taken more seriously. The Ramadan is going to be taken more seriously, or Nowruz is going to be taken seriously. So now,
No Nowruz.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was very educational. I think.
To have your questions answered on the next live stream, become my patron today. You can do so with as little as $1 a month. Link in the description below.